Years after the fall of Aralon, a group of travelers crossed the northern mountains. They had heard stories about a kingdom that was once the pride of the world, a kingdom so powerful that people believed it would last forever. But when they arrived, they stopped in silence. The golden towers were cracked, the beautiful gardens were empty, the mighty river had almost disappeared, and the streets that once echoed with laughter were silent. One traveler finally whispered, "Who did this?" Was it a powerful enemy? A terrible war? A devastating disaster? But the answer shocked everyone. No army attacked Aralon. No enemy crossed its borders. No disaster destroyed its land. Yet somehow, one of the greatest kingdoms in history disappeared. And the reason was hidden in something so small that nobody paid attention to it. This is the story of King Arman and the mistake that changed an entire kingdom. 10 years earlier, before the broken walls, before the empty streets, before the forgotten kingdom, Aralon was ruled by a young king named Arman. King Arman was brave, smart, and full of dreams. On his first day as king, thousands of people gathered outside the palace. They cheered his name. "King Arman! King Arman!" The young king walked onto the palace balcony. He raised his hand and made a promise to his people.
My people, I promise you, Aralon will become the greatest kingdom the world has ever seen.
The crowd celebrated. The future looked bright. And King Arman worked hard. He planned huge buildings, bigger armies, greater celebrations. Every morning, he asked his advisors the same question.
What is the biggest thing we can create next?
But there was one problem. The king respected big actions, but ignored small ones. And soon the kingdom would learn that small things do not stay small forever.
Your Majesty, there is a small crack in the palace wall. If we repair it today, we can protect the wall for many years.
King Arman looked at the crack. It was tiny, almost invisible. The king smiled.
Do not worry about such a small thing. We have bigger things to build. A tiny crack cannot harm a great kingdom.
The worker quietly walked away, but the crack remained. Every day, a little more dust fell. Every storm, the crack became slightly bigger. But nobody noticed, because small problems grow quietly. Months later, a farmer arrived at the palace.
Your Majesty, the river channels are filling with mud. If we clean a little every day, our farms will stay healthy.
King Arman looked at his giant construction plans and replied,
A little mud cannot stop a great river. We will handle it later. There are more important things today.
The farmer bowed and left quietly. Days became months. A little mud became a blockage, and a small problem started becoming a big problem. One evening, an old teacher came to meet the king. He carried old books in his hands and worry in his eyes.
Your Majesty, the children of Aralon are missing 1 hour of learning every day. Small lessons today create wise leaders tomorrow.
1 hour? How much difference can 1 hour really make? We will focus on this later.
The teacher lowered his eyes because he understood something the king did not. Small things do not remain small forever. Years passed, slowly, quietly, without anyone noticing. The tiny crack in the palace wall became a broken wall. The small amount of mud in the river became a blocked river. And the children who missed small lessons grew without the wisdom they needed. The Kingdom of Aralon did not collapse in one night. It disappeared, one ignored day at a time. One evening, King Arman stood on the same balcony where people once shouted his name. But now, the streets were quiet. The king looked at his kingdom and whispered,
How did this happen? We never lost a war. We never faced a great enemy. Why is my kingdom falling?
Because your greatest enemy was never outside your walls, Your Majesty. The king turned around. Behind him stood Elder Zayan, the oldest advisor in the kingdom, a man who had served 3 generations of kings. He was quiet, simple, and wise. Great kingdoms are rarely destroyed by one great mistake. They are usually destroyed by small mistakes repeated every day. The next morning, Elder Zayan took King Arman to an old garden behind the palace. In the garden, there were 2 plants. One was a huge, beautiful tree, standing strong under the sunlight. The other was small and weak. Your Majesty, what difference do you see?
One became strong. The other failed.
Do you know why? The king looked at both plants, but had no answer. Elder Zayan pointed toward the great tree. This tree received a few drops of water every single morning. Nothing special, nothing impressive, just a small action repeated every day. Then Zayan pointed toward the weak plant. This plant waited for one great storm to save it. But the storm never came. The king looked at the giant tree in silence.
So, a few drops of water created something this powerful?
Elder Zayan smiled. No, Your Majesty. A few drops did not create this tree. Thousands of small drops did. For the first time, King Arman understood. He had spent years searching for one big action that would create greatness. But he ignored the small actions that protect greatness. From that day, King Arman changed. He stopped asking, "What big thing can I do today?" Instead, he started asking a different question.
What small thing can I improve today?
And slowly, the king started rebuilding Aralon. Not with one huge decision, not with one magical solution, but with small actions every single day. Every morning, one broken stone was repaired. One small tree was planted. One child received a lesson. One farmer received help. At first, some people did not understand. They looked at the king and wondered, can such small things really change an entire kingdom? But King Arman continued. One day, then another, then another. Because now, he knew, small actions need time before they reveal their power. Days became weeks, weeks became months, months became years. And slowly, Aralon began to change. The broken walls became strong again. The rivers started flowing again. The empty fields turned green again. And the children, who received small lessons every day, became the wise builders of the future. The Kingdom of Aralon returned, but not because of one great action. It returned because of thousands of small ones. Many years later, King Arman walked through the royal garden, but he was no longer the young king who only dreamed about big things. Now, he was older, calmer, and wiser. Beside him walked his young son, the Prince of Aralon. The prince stopped beside the giant tree, the same tree that elder Zayan had shown his father many years ago.
Father, when did this tree become so big?
Old King Arman smiled. He looked at the branches reaching toward the sky and remembered the lesson that changed his life.
Everyone notices the day a tree becomes tall. But almost nobody remembers all the mornings it was watered.
The prince looked at the tree. Then he looked at his father, still trying to understand. Old King Arman picked up a small seed and placed it gently in his son's hand.
Never ignore small things. A small habit may look powerless today, but repeated long enough, it can build an entire kingdom.
The prince looked at the tiny seed. Something so small, yet holding something so powerful inside. A future tree, a future forest, a future kingdom. Because life works the same way. Your life is your kingdom. Your habits are the builders. Every small choice places one brick. A little effort, a little patience, a little improvement, every day. Because your future is not built in one big moment. It is built quietly by the small things you do, again and again. Before you go, remember this. The Kingdom of Aralon did not change because of one big decision. It changed because of many small choices made every day. Because the future is built one habit, one action, and one step at a time. If this story inspired you, subscribe to Raahvia for more motivational stories, moral lessons, and timeless wisdom. And don't miss our previous story, I Sleep Hungry for Him, a touching story about sacrifice, love, and the quiet strength of a mother's heart. If today's story taught you the power of small habits, that story will remind you of the power of selfless love. Thank you for watching. Until our next story, never underestimate the small things. They often change everything.